we present here the included e-guidelines for teachers willing to adopt the tangible digital storytelling approach to design and implement novel inclusive educational practices in kindergarten and primary school. Before illustrating these e-guidelines, let's take a step backward and have a glance into what is the Erasmus Plus project included. It was a 3-year European transnational action research involving schools, training institutions, and university partners based in Finland, Italy, and Spain. The objectives addressed were to lay the foundations of a curriculum framework and related guidelines for educators to implement the tangible digital storytelling approach for inclusion purposes by defining teacher training practices and designing and implementing experimental activities in various educational contexts based on different symbolic narrative playing strategies. Then to perform a scientific assessment of the activities through specific focuses of pedagogical observation, which analyze the experiments and the results, and finally, to draw final guidelines for educators aimed at using the tangible digital storytelling approach. Then, first of all, we start by defining the tangible digital storytelling innovative approach that is at the core of the included project. It is a pedagogical innovation at the cross-cutting edge between several methodological aspects. In fact, it represents a synergic mixed methodology, leveraging on the key features of cooperative and peer learning, problem-based learning, storytelling, dramatization and tangibility, inclusive environments, and digital media education. To provide some insights into practical arrangements, here we show an example of how the educational setting could be divided into functional areas in order to carry out such methodology. For instance, we could have one or more small group workspaces, allowing discussion among children, reflection, preparation of drawing and materials, story writing, and storyboarding. A space for traditional storytelling, dramatization with body and gestures, supporting staging, group games, and role play. And then a multimedia laboratory space, supporting staging, dramatization, and recording in small groups. For example, by using the iTheatre Tangible Collaborative Storytelling Laboratory or other pedagogically suited tools. In a nutshell, iTheatre was adopted during the project included since it's particularly appropriate to implement the tangible digital storytelling approach, thanks to its unique features. It is a blank multimedia authoring tool. It natively supports small group narrative dramatization action model, and it features a tangible interface based on concrete physical objects. For more information, refer to the iTheatre website. After this brief introduction, to implement the tangible digital storytelling approach in everyday life school practices, we provide here some guidelines. First of all, we present a summary of the required competencies for teachers willing to adopt and implement tangible digital storytelling in terms of knowledge, skills, and more in detail of needed competencies for planning, managing, and assessing the educational activities. After that, we illustrate a set of strategies that can be used to concretely put in place tangible digital storytelling activities, with few examples taken from the project included best practices.
The included project philosophy to promote a virtuous learning process for inclusion by using the tangible digital storytelling approach proposes 7 educational and social challenges for the teacher student, institution, and cultural environment. Building and feeding a culture of diversity as a source of wealth for the school, considering tasks and relationships. Promoting an educational model based on the student's needs and socio-cognitive development. Placing the student as an active performer in the learning process. Considering collaboration, tutoring, and peer support as relationships of exchange and mutual help based on values of respect and shared responsibility both for students and teachers. Providing mediation and support for students' autonomy, skills acquisition, and social learning experiences. Considering students' families as a source of information, support, and collaboration. And finally, preventing the complication from social exclusion and the lack of learning opportunities, also considering situations of significant difficulty and disability. Please notice that important requirements are the implementation of active group social contexts for effective cooperative learning and the establishment of a valuable educational culture among all involved stakeholders, including parents and families. In terms of knowledge and skills required to adopt the tangible digital storytelling approach, teachers must be able to handle cooperative learning. In cooperative learning, the teacher structures, organizes, and controls the interactions and learning outcomes, acting as facilitator. The teacher must stimulate the exchange of explanation and justification in carrying out a task in a work sequence, in the evaluation of results, and encourage students' reasoning, decision making, and encountering different procedures to accomplish tasks, providing the group with tools and evaluation criteria concerning the tasks and products. Collaborative storytelling. The teacher can implement linear or non-linear narratives, handling the relationship between storytelling and dramatization, communication and action, characters and events in a story. The teacher should know the development of narrative competence in childhood and how a story can be dramatized. We noticed that collaborative storytelling activities have demonstrated positive effects on communication, practical competencies, academic achievement, and students' participation and involvement in the classroom. Digital media. The teacher must be able to manage digital media, tools, and physical workspace in order to promote the process aimed at nurturing an active use of media and related languages, developing skills for critical reflection on the messages and their cultural, ethical, linguistic, and technological aspects. Inclusive environments. The teacher shall create inclusive contexts through accepting, understanding, and attending to students' differences and diversities, including physical, cognitive, academic, social, and emotional aspects. Inclusive settings have the potential to improve academic performance, communication skills, social skills, and friendships, as well as minimize absences and disruptive behavior. To implement the aforementioned methodological aspects into real-life everyday school practices, a proper activity planning is a key for effective implementation. For this goal, the teacher shall leverage on his or her analytical and social skills to analyze students' needs and interpersonal dynamics in the classroom and take into account current communitarian and interprofessional practices for inclusion established between teachers, families, and other professionals. An example sheet of an inclusive, collaborative, tangible digital storytelling planning scheme model is here provided. In addition to the common educational project structures, we notice here the need to particularly adapt the collaborative activity given that the class counts with students with learning difficulties or specific educational needs. Moreover, a specific attention should be paid here to technological elements and to the final product of the activity. as foreseen in the project and problem-based cooperative learning approach. Defining an appropriate final product of the collaborative activity that can be shared and assessed at the end is very important, so that students know the final product of their collaborative work. They are motivated and can organize and direct themselves to the final goal. Then, concerning activity management, the teacher must ensure technical knowledge of digital tools before starting the activity and the capability to handle unforeseen events by leveraging on specific skills to solve problems without hindering the session development with the students. Shall consider that groups require adequate space and conditions to execute collaborative work, tables and chairs disposition, devices availability, space between different work groups, etc. Must adopt a proper communication style and be prepared to handle conflicts and dynamics between students individually, as a group, or in the whole class. Teachers can deal with the problematic situation by reflecting on the experience during the debriefing phase. Finally, as for activity assessment, the teacher shall master those aspects. Class debriefing. It can be performed by a final comment or plenary discussion on the experience. In this way, class debriefing can be the first way to assess the benefit of the activity and a useful tool for detecting failures, areas for potential improvements, or possible new objectives emanating from the experience. Group dynamics. The teacher must be attentive to any change or variation in interpersonal dynamics as a valuable indicator of the classroom climate in students' interactions. Improvement. It is of major importance providing intermediate feedbacks during the experience, making students participate in the experience of evaluation, as it is beneficial for their motivation, mentalization, and feeling of agency about their learning. For the evaluation, observation grids and/or diaries could be used. Final product. In addition to the learning process, it is important to consider the final product by assessing its quality throughout objective aspects related to the quality of the student's work.
After illustrating what competencies are required by teachers, here we present some example strategies to concretely implement tangible digital storytelling in school practices. The first one relates to starting from a topic, which can be used, among others, to consolidate topics related to a specific discipline. Here is an example of a best practice implemented in Finland. The activity was aimed at improving social skills and group working skills of second and third graders, 8 to 11 years old children, by co-creating stories about animals, a topic that was chosen by the children. Then we have readaptation of a pre-existing story. The example here is taken from a best practice implemented in Italy. The activity was finalized at recreating a multimedia storytelling starting from the Greek myth Pandora's box. Starting from a stimulus could also be a very useful strategy. In this example, taken from best practices implemented in Spain, students collaboratively created chain stories starting from the stimula provided by throwing the Dixit game cards. Then another option, starting from dramatization and improvisation. Although not that common in the implementation of educational practices, this strategy could be very effective to personalize learning and increase students' inner motivation. Finally, starting from a drawing theme, is here provided. Thanks for your attention in listening to these e-guidelines. We hope we could give you some insights into the tangible digital storytelling methodology for inclusion, stimulate your curiosity to learn more about the topic, and think about designing and implementing novel inclusive educational practices in your school context and settings.
We remind you that the full version of the guidelines and the all-included project's intellectual outputs are freely available as open educational resources from the project website. In case you would have any questions or doubts, please don't hesitate to send an email to info@includedeurope.eu. We'll be very happy to get in contact with you.